Hello, everybody. It's Fiona Lukis here. I am live for my normal Friday Facebook Live Q&A session where I go live every Friday at approximately 1:30 Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time at the moment to answer any questions that you may have around relationships or life. So today we are, I've got a couple of people that have sent questions in, which I will be answering. And if you have just tuned in or you are watching, feel free to say hi and let me know where you are from. I always like to know where people are tuning in from. And if you have a question, as always, just post it in the comments below. Or if you have a question that you want answered, it's too late to send me via email now, but you can certainly do so for next week. You can send me an email to hello@fionalukis.com.au. Okay. Hey, Tanya. Always lovely to see you, darling. Hello. Hi, Chris. Nice to see you. Thanks for tuning in. So for those of you who have just tuned in, please say hi. Like I said, always love to know who's out there. I'm a bit of a chatty catty, so I always love to talk to people and find out where people are from and where people are listening from. And if there is anything I can do to be of service to you today, please let me know. Feel free to ask a question below, or if you would like me to expand on anything that maybe you've been listening to in either my podcast or maybe in my ebook, feel free to do so, and I will happily do whatever I can to be of service. So for those of you who are new to my work, and there's been a lot of new people kind of follow me or comment or send me messages in the last week or so, I have a very different approach to relationships, and it's much less complicated, a lot simpler. And I tend to talk more about the nature of a relationship, the nature of how relationships work. Hey, Marie, nice to see you, honey. Thanks for saying hi. So I tend to talk more about the nature of relationships and the nature of human beings, because when we understand the nature of how something works, it's much easier to show up differently, to make different choices, to learn via the gift of insight rather than willpower, application, and doing, and to show up from a place where you're not so much coming from fear, but you're coming from understanding. I find so many people in the relationship space and in life, really, it's life. There's not an area in your life where you are not in relationship with something, right? We're in a relationship with something literally every minute of every day. So being good at relationships is something that I see as an essential life skill. It really is. It's one of those things that when we're good at, makes life easier on every level, whether it be at work, whether it be parenting your children, whether it be with friendships, families, in-laws, your relationship with you. Like, there's just so many areas where when you have this understanding and you're good at this stuff, you move through life with a lot more ease, grace, flow, humility, playfulness, curiosity, wisdom, peace, calm. This is what's available, okay? Now, a lot of people will argue with me and say, that's not possible, Fiona. Life is very stressful. I've got, kids and a job, and I've got money issues, or I've got this going on or that going on. And I want you to know, it doesn't matter what's going on externally to you. When you understand the nature of something, you are a lot less sped up internally. And, relationships really do hit issues because people are so sped up internally and they don't know it. So, as you slow down internally, you just feel better, right? We feel better when we're not going so fast, when we're not spinning our wheels, when our mind's not going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. We have more bandwidth. People who have more bandwidth do better at relationships, okay? People who have more bandwidth are calmer. People who have more bandwidth are more resilient. People who have more bandwidth are less afraid. People who have more bandwidth tend to come more often from a place of a deeper level of intelligence than people who do not. And it doesn't mean that someone's better or less than from you. It just means they're accessing a different part of their mind. Okay? So when we've got more bandwidth, we access a different part of our mind. Okay, now everybody has access to this stuff. We're all the same, right? Internally, the operating system of a human being is exactly the same. But when we don't understand the way things work, when we are sped up, when we're confused about where our experience comes from, when we don't understand well-being and a whole lot of other things that I think are crucially important to the foundation of how we relate to ourselves, life, and each other, then life just becomes that much harder. We're a lot more reactionary. We have less patience. We tend to get conned by feelings of urgency. We say things that we regret later. We're more judgmental. We're just more fear-based. All of those things are someone coming from fear. And there's nothing wrong with coming from fear. Like, don't get me wrong, fear and love, that's the journey of the human, right? Sometimes we're coming from love and sometimes we're coming from fear. I certainly do that in my own life. So this isn't about eradicating one or the other, but it is certainly about understanding where you're at so you can factor that in to what you are seeing. This is super, super, super important. Hey, Livy. Hello, honey. Thanks for saying hi. Nice to see you. Really nice to see you. So if you've just tuned in, feel free to say hi. Always love to know where people are from. Fear today. Yeah. Now, Chris, I've seen some of you posts in the Insight community group, and one of the reasons why you're coming from a place of fear is you tend to outsource your well-being, right? You think your well-being depends on something external to you. And that's why fear is often there, because you need that thing to be a certain way for you to be okay. Now, once that shifts, once you know that you are okay no matter what, once you understand where your well-being comes from, fear won't be such a big player in how you show up to the situation that you find yourself in. All right? See, fear has us retract, love has us expand. And, love, and, as for those of you who maybe are listening to my podcast or have listened to my live, the first live I did this year, my intention for 2022 is to let love in. And I'm not just talking about romantic love. I'm really talking about a deep love and trust in myself, in life, in the universe, in many, many, many things. Okay. We tend to have a very limited viewpoint on what love looks like. But when your understanding expands, the fear starts to take more of a back seat, and you start to lead from a place of expansion and growth and potential and possibility and curiosity and openness. You're willing to say no to things that no longer serve you and step into the unknown. And in fact, what we would say, lean into the unknown. This is very, very important. People struggle with this in their relationships, so they become shut down and fearful, and then, they get angry, which is a real protection mechanism, okay? As you become more expansive and open, you choose love more often, because that's the only thing that actually really starts to make sense. And that doesn't make you weak. It doesn't mean that you don't deal with issues when they come up. It doesn't mean any of those things that people assume I mean by that. It means that your level of expansion is huge. It means your level of compassion and understanding is huge. It means your flavor changes. And when those things happen, it has a very profound impact on the people around you and the opportunities that you see. Okay? I had a mentor say to me once a number of years ago, the greatest blockage to intimacy is a busy mind, and the greatest blockage to opportunity is a busy mind. And people are so busy-minded, they miss these things. They miss opportunities in their relationships, and they miss opportunities outside of them. Now, I know some of you who are tuned in are having difficulties in your relationships. It's not going the way that you thought it would, right? And I know for many people there is a lot of hurt. There is a lot of frustration. There is a lot of loneliness. There is a lot of fear. There is a lot of all of those things. And I understand. I really do. You're not listening to someone that's had some charmed life where everything's worked out my way. I've had some really difficult things I've had to navigate in my life, and I'm sure I will, right? It doesn't stop. As many of you have heard me say before, and these aren't my words, they're the words of many people that have been spoken. Life is a contact sport. It is. So wouldn't it be better to know how to ride the wave rather than how do I stop it? You can't stop a wave, but you can certainly learn how to ride it with less fear, less overwhelm, less doubt, less anger, less reaction, from a place of calm, grounded, peace. The amount of people that tell me that I speak to, and I say to them, what is it that you want? The amount of people that say to me, I just want peace and love in my heart. I want peace and love in my life. That's what I want. Okay? And some of these are people that have got, loads and loads of money, and they've ticked every box that society says they need to tick, and they still are looking for that. And then there are people who don't have those things and are still looking for that. That's because it doesn't come from anything external to you. This is why when you understand how we work, you can walk away from things that no longer serve you. You can be more honoring of you instead of, no, I'm going to hold on really tight because I need that thing to be a certain way for me to be okay. Right? Which is what so many of us innocently do. I'm going to hold on and hold on and hold on and hold on. I'm going to resist and resist and resist and resist. I'm going to fight and fight and fight and fight. Okay? And it's fine. Just understand that when you do that, quite often we are repeating instead of expanding. Okay? So when I talk about this understanding, I talk about the power of it, whether it's no matter what scenario you are in. But if you are in a relationship right now that is not working, then what you need to be looking at is your relationship with you, not the relationship, right? Because the relationship's always going to be a reflection, or the choices that you make around it are going to be a reflection of your relationship with you. Don't hear this as victim blaming or someone's fault. That's not what I mean. Okay? But when you have an understanding of how powerful we are and how the energy we emit impacts everything, then it makes sense to look at your relationship with you, right? You've got to look here first before you look out there. Now, the problem most people make is they look out there and they don't look here. And a lot of people will say to me, but I don't know where to look, what I'm looking for. And that's a fair enough question, right? What does that even mean to look in here? These are all the things that I teach. All right. It's a big part of my work is helping people look inside themselves from a place of calm and groundedness and potential and hope and possibility, where they're grateful for what they see because it gives them choice that they never had before, where they can feel themselves expanding, which is the most amazing feeling, as opposed to retracting, which kind of sucks, right? Doesn't feel so good. This is why we have to distract ourselves with alcohol, drama, porn, sex, anger, all those sorts of things. Okay, work, busyness, busy. Don't feel too much when I'm too busy. I don't have to think about how empty I am or whether I feel fulfilled or whether I'm honoring myself. I'll just get really, really, really busy, and then I'll get really, really, really tired. There's not a lot of joy when you live life from that place, really. And life's too short, guys, right? In the big scheme of things, once everything falls away, all the stuff, all the busyness, all the doing, all this stuff, right? What you are left with is the quality of feeling you are in that moment, in any given moment. That's what you're left with. That is what feeds your soul, and that is what has you move through life. Now, what I find so sad, and I don't mean that in a judgmentally, I just feel sad for people. People are unaware of what is possible when it comes to the depth of feeling they can experience around anything. And when I say depth of feeling, I'm not talking about the polar opposites of life, of anger or sadness or happy or frustrated. I'm talking about depth of feeling. I'm talking about connection to the now, a level of presence, neutrality, peacefulness, calm. I'm talking about wisdom. I'm talking about clarity of mind. These are the things that people are looking for. It's not happy and blah, blah, blah. They're looking for that. That's a much deeper thing. Happy is kind of surface level, right? Connection, understanding, wisdom, curiosity, empowerment, love, presence, calm, groundedness, wisdom. That's what I mean by depth of feeling. And it is the most amazing feeling. Amazing. And the amazing thing is that when you are in that feeling, your expectations of life and others go down, and that's a good thing. I almost swore then, but held myself back in check. That's a good thing. Okay? It's a very good thing. People think that it's about solving your problems. No, it's about knowing the depth of feeling that's available to you and then looking at your problems from there. And believe me, they look completely different from that place. Completely different. This is why I don't go straight into problem solving, because I'm like, well, people need to know the depth of feeling available to them first. And if you don't know that, then the problem solving is kind of a waste of time, because it's not going to fill you up. You're just going to look for the next thing to solve, and the next and the next, and people just bounce around, right? They bounce around. There's a really great metaphor. It's not mine. I'm not even sure whose it is, actually. Anyway, I'm not sure where it came from, but I do like to attribute metaphors and things to people. But this is a metaphor that I heard some years ago. And it goes along the lines like this. And I think this is how many, many people are in the relationship space. Let's just imagine that you are in a log cabin. You've gone camping with your loved one, okay? Or it could be with your kids. It really doesn't matter, okay? This metaphor applies to all relationships. I guess you probably wouldn't go camping in a romantic cabin with your boss, but you could still use this metaphor there, right? So you've gone out into the woods. You've gone. You're having this lovely weekend away in this wood cabin, and you get there and you start the fire, and you get the fire all beautiful, and it's warm and toasty, and maybe it's really windy and wintry outside. Now, for those of you in the northern hemisphere, that's where you are right now. Us in the southern hemisphere, we're kind of sweltering away here, but we're moving into autumn or fall, as you guys would call it. And so you're in your log cabin, the fire's burning, and it's toasty and warm, and you're snuggling up. So yeah, probably you wouldn't snuggle up to your boss, but you'd snuggle up to your kids or your loved ones, right? You're snuggling up and you're just enjoying each other's company, and maybe you're drinking a glass of wine or something non-alcoholic if you're with your kids, right? And you're just enjoying that moment of now, and you're present to it. And so, see, the amazing thing is when we're present to a moment, that's where love resides, okay? Love is the moment that you have, and I've seen your question, Carly, where you have no expectations, no limits, no conditions. You're just in this amazing feeling of appreciation, not because you have reminded yourself, but because you can see the miracles of everything around you, right? You're delighting in what is without needing to change it, okay? Without it needing to be any different. You're delighting in what is. You're not imposing rules and regulations and standards and all this made up stuff that we do. You're present in that now, okay? Love resides in a mind that's free of thinking, that's open, that's just present to the now. That's where love resides. It doesn't reside in the past or the future or in your churning mind. It's in the moment of now. And we are designed to do so well in the moment of now, but we've not been taught to trust it. So we try and outthink it, outplan it, make sure we don't repeat the past. Instead, we miss the point of how beautifully designed we are to handle moments of now, okay? Now, when you understand that, you're a lot more trusting in the now. And this is something people really struggle with, right? Really, 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 really struggle with. They resist it and get stuck. Anyway, back to my metaphor. So it's a beautiful, warm fire, and you're enjoying that moment of now and the connection and the fire flickering against the walls, and it's snowy and cold outside, and you're so grateful to be warm and toasty, and you're just enjoying this moment that you're having, free of distraction. And as you're lying there, you feel a little bit of a chill in your back. You're like, oh. And then you feel a bit of a chill again. It's like a blast of cold air. And you're like, well, what's with that? And you feel it again, and you're trying to get in the now, but you're like, oh, I'm not, I think I need to do something about that chill. This isn't good. I'm going to do it. So you say to the person you're with, hang on a second, I'm just going to go sort this out. And so you walk up, you go over, and you notice that there is a bit of a gap between the back door, okay, and the floor. You're like, oh. So you rummage around because you don't know the cabin very well, and you find an old towel or something, and you turn it up and you stuff it under the floor, between the door and the floor, and you go, oh, that's better. That's really great. But as you're walking back to go back to the fire, you notice that the kitchen window is open a crack. And you're like, oh, hang on. I'll just go fix that up. So, the wine is a bit old and rusty because, you haven't used it before. And so, it takes you a bit longer to fix the kitchen window. And then after you've done that, you go to come back to your loved one or whoever it is sitting in front of the fire. And you realize that there is a small crack in one of the windows that goes down the hall. And you're like, well, look, I fixed the kitchen. I fixed the laundry door. I may as well fix the kitchen window. I fixed the kitchen window. I may as well fix that crack because, I'm just going to lie down again and that's going to irritate me. So you go rummaging around and you find a bit of masking tape and you carefully tape it up over the window. Now, by the time you've done all of those things, you go back to the lounge room, the fire's gone out, and the person you were just sitting with has gone to bed. The moment's gone. This is what I see happening in relationships all the time. People are focusing on the problem. People are focusing on the solution. How can we work on this? How can we fix that? How can we do that? How can we this? How can we that? And it distracts us from the now. Completely. We're completely missing the now, which is where love resides. You think if I sort that out, I fix this, I change this, I undo this, I create that, then I can enjoy my now. No, just enjoy your now. And people get so caught up on fixing one another, on trying to make someone just like them, on trying to resolve things, and right. And I'm not saying that you don't deal with stuff, but you have to deal with it from a very different foundation and a different baseline. Now, if you don't know where your well-being comes from, you're going to handle that from a completely different space than someone who does. Your flavor is going to be different. Someone who doesn't know where well-being comes from fixes things from a place of neediness and panic and fear and worry and projection and like this. And it just pushes the other person away, right? That's not attractive. It's not. It doesn't do it for people. You have to be grounded in yourself. You have to be clear and solid in yourself so that you're coming from a space where there's not so much agenda and so much on it and people don't feel so pressured. This is the stuff I see all the time because people are constantly doing the rounds. Where's the problem? Where can I fix this? How can I change that? And when you're in a state of mind like that, you're not very emotionally intelligent. You're coming from lack, you're coming from fear, and you just project it everywhere and you don't realize it. And this destroys goodwill. It pushes people away. And then you get upset because you think the other person owes you something, right? But I've been trying so hard. How come you're moving away from me? I've been doing all of this stuff. Look what I've done. I've fixed the window. I've fixed the back door. I've been fixing stuff. I've been working hard. Hello? Now, I'm smiling because this is why I call us a funny little human. We don't understand what's going on and we don't understand what we need to be focusing on. We get very confused and very lost, and it's not your fault. But you've just been taught to focus on the wrong stuff. That's not where the juice lies in a relationship. That's not where the magic lies. Okay? People who have an appreciation of the now, where they know where their well-being comes from, who understand how we work, show up completely differently. And it has a profound and immediate impact. And it's much easier and simpler than going through all of that complicated worry inside out. What happened in the past? Let's talk about what happened a month ago. Let's defend ourselves. Let's, I've got something to prove. I've got something to hide. It's just exhausting. People just run for the hills. You don't realize it, but the harder you try, you achieve the opposite of what you want. And now the reason for that is you're looking in the wrong direction for the answer. So this is why I am so passionate about teaching people the nature of things. Because let's face it, okay? Let me be brutally honest here. There is a plethora of information out there on relationships. Like there is more information out there than you can poke a stick at. Yet the divorce rate is going through the roof. And if you add on second marriages to that, it's quadruple. Families are splintering. People are angry and wounded and lashing out. So if all that so-called information was so helpful, why are we not seeing that rippling out across the world? You have to ask yourself that. Just because a piece of information is interesting because it's given you a 1, 2, 3-step system, so what? That's not what creates long-term change. That's not something you can draw back on. A system only works when you've got the presence of mind to think about it. And if you're in the mood and you think the other person deserves it, right? Now, when goodwill is low, do you think you're going to be in the mood? Do you think the other person's going to deserve it? No, you're going to justify to yourself that you've done enough and it's the other person's turn. And you're just going to have this arbitrary flavor. And so it just has 1 step forward, 10 steps back. This is why I don't, in my ebook, say you got to do 1, 2, 3, 4. And sometimes people get angry with me about that. Oh, your ebook's too superficial. It's too simple. It's like, if you understood what I was pointing you to, you would actually see how unbelievably helpful it is. But you got to be prepared to look. People just want to be told what to do. They don't want to be told where to look. But if you want long-term change, you have to know where to look. It's not about being told what to do, right? As I say, this is the difference between feeding someone fish and teaching them how to fish. And I'm not going to back down on that. I want you to succeed. I want this to be something that carries you through for years to come, that you pass down to other members of your family, that ripple out to your friends, right? You can't do that by following a system. That doesn't give you insight. It doesn't create understanding. It doesn't expand you. It gets you through maybe that moment, but the next moment. So if you want to make a difference, you have to know the nature of things, how things actually work. This is not what we're taught. We're taught how to deal with personality types. We're taught things like communication styles. Yeah, and I agree communication is important, but communication will only be as successful as the understanding of two people have about their own true nature. It's just that simple, okay? When you understand where you're coming from, where your state of mind is, when you know the difference between being in your ego mind versus wisdom. You need to know this stuff, guys. Like, this is the basis of how things change, and not just in your marriage, but how you parent, how you communicate with colleagues, how an entire team operates, how people come together rather than fight for each other, defend one another, and feel like they've got something to prove. That's not how a team operates. That doesn't bring the best out in a family, and it certainly doesn't bring out the best in a partnership. And if you have those levels of insecurity in yourself and you feel like you have something to prove to yourself, then you'll be bringing that flavor everywhere you go. So you won't have the presence of mind that you need in the now to connect. You'll be too busy trying to prove yourself, right? Justify yourself. This is where most people are, and they can't see it. Now, it's no one's fault, but you've got to know there's a whole other direction to look in. All right, I'm going to stop now. I've gone on a little bit of a rant, so I'll stop now. Livy, that makes so much sense. Okay, awesome. I'm really glad it does, Livy. Giovanna, the understandings you teach and relatable make all the difference. So simple, so clear. Thank you, darling. Yes, it's my absolute passion that people have this in their lives. So if you are curious about what I'm talking to, I will put the link for relatable here. This is what I teach. Step by step. Understanding by understanding. Well, it's not really step by step. That's actually not true. Understanding by understanding. Level of understanding by level of understanding. We're the most amazing community. And the people in there are astounded by how differently they show up to things. So if you want to feel calmer, grounded, more present, if you want to stop the blame game and the judgment and the projection, if you want to stop frantically overthinking and analyzing and ruminating and try and fix stuff, this is what I teach in Relatable. And it's not just for couples, it's any relationship, okay? Any relationship, got social workers doing relatable. I've got people wanting to change their relationship with their kids doing relatable. I've got siblings wanting a deeper relationship doing relatable. All sorts of things. People who know that they need to slow their mind down so they can do better in business. So business owners, really doesn't matter, okay? But when you have this understanding, you can take it with you and you can draw from it wherever you go, all right? Wherever you go. So I'll put the link there below like I do every week. But I'm just going to check in because I've been speaking for a while now, 30 minutes. Oh, my goodness. Is this making sense? Does anyone have any questions? Is there anything that you want me to expand on further? Because I'm probably going to have to sign off pretty soon. So I'm just going to check in. Is this helpful? Making sense? Resonating? And if you haven't said hi, please say hi. Always love to know who's out there. Okay. All right, everybody. Well, I don't seem to have any more questions coming through, which is fine. And making sense, Chris? Okay, good. And hello. Hi. Now, is it Andrea? Andrea? Is that? I think that's your name. I remember you sending me an email. Extremely helpful. Always good to get reminded of what's available through this program. Hi, Shlamit. Hello. Hi, Dicko. Thank you, honey. Andrea. That's it. I thought so. Hey, Andrea. If you've just tuned in, Andrea, I really recommend you have a listen through. I'm about to finish off because I've been speaking for about 30 minutes, but you might find that what I've been talking about here would be quite relevant. All right, everybody. I'm glad that this was helpful. Appreciate you saying hi and tuning in. Remember, I'm here every Friday, so I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. But if you are stuck in your relationship right now and you're looking for something different, completely different, coming from a different place, then I highly recommend my online program, Relatable. Okay. And if you're someone who's looking at doing private work with me, I do a combination of Relatable and one-on-one sessions. So Relatable does the heavy lifting of teaching the understanding, and then we look at what that means for you in your life and your relationship or anything that you want to create change around. Okay. And it's fun and it's lighthearted and there's a lot of laughter because I know people learn best when they feel good, right? We do. It doesn't have to be this agonizing, in-depth look at your past and turning yourself inside out, upside down. It can actually be really fun. Hence why I call this a funny little human, because we are all very hilarious. Thank you very much. Thanks so much, Shamit. Thanks, Carly. Thank you, darling. I'll put the link just below in a moment, and I'll see you all really soon. Have a great weekend, everyone. Ciao.